And speaking of Paul Blart Mall Cop 4, we have my pick of the week, that being the 2020 film Main Abyss, Dawn of the Deep Soul, aka the third Main Abyss movie in the series, aka the movie in between Season 1 and Season 2. This is, of course, the adventures of Rico, Anachi, and Reg going down from the 4th to the 5th layer, where they have to confront Bond Druid so they can get access to the 6th layer, and hilarity ensues. Tanner, what's your fun fact?
Okay.
Fun fact, the featured song is Forever Lost by Myth and Roy, who also do the Overlord OPs.
I love Myth and Roy. All my homies love Myth and Roy. They make some absolute fucking bangers, dude. Everybody should check out their song Hydra right now. Let's pause the recording.
Okay. Holy smokes, I'm going right now.
All right, so Dylan, speaking of going, what are you going to be rating this film?
It's really hard to talk, because I gave the last movie an S+. It's really hard. I thought this movie was better. But I couldn't justify moving down the other movie, so I'm just gonna know in my heart that this movie is better than the last one, and just rank this one S+ as well.
Guys, because of this movie, we're actually coming out with the brand new rank, the G tier for Guapish. Right above S+. No. I do think it'd be funny to have, like, a highest ranked tier, and it's only if we all unanimously gave that movie like the highest possible tier, which will never happen, but you know, I think
it'll never happen.
The
closest we got was Into the Spider-Verse, and I think you gave it an S instead of an S+.
I'm fucking based for that, to be honest.
You're
Anyways, speaking of S's, I'm also giving this movie an S. I think it is another incremental upgrade from the previous movie, and I think it's enough to warrant a tier jump.
Tanner, what are your thoughts? You look rather bewildered by both of their statements there.
It's mostly just because he ranked the last one S+, so fucking, he's obviously a bit silly.
Okay.
Okay.
I am curious, Jackson, relative to the other two, where do you think I place this one?
Dude, I have one thing to assume, and it was just in the middle of the movie, you typing that the author needs to be put in fucking jail, which, you know, understandable. But I don't know. I feel like you'd like this one more than that one. You gave that one, the last one, an A-, I think, and that was the best one. So I would assume you like this one more than that, but I could be entirely wrong.
I think he actually gave the previous one a B+. I gave it an A-.
I personally think Tanner liked the last one more than this one, but he liked this one more than the first one.
Dude, Dylan's correct. I have this one sitting at a B right now.
Holy shit, that's fucking wild.
Interesting. And shockingly enough, I wasn't expecting this to happen, but I didn't like this one as much as the previous film. I'm giving it a B+.
There are two wolves in the Guapish podcast.
I'm just as shocked as you guys are.
What did it in for you guys? I'm quite curious.
So the problems that emerge in this one that hold it back from being better than the second one to me is, one, to me it really felt like they were starting to do fucked up things just for the sake of fucked up things happening, which is going to be very funny when we get to the next movie, but anyway. And then the obviously, you know, it's a summary of an anime, blah, 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 so the pacing is sped up. The speed of which we are going through events in this one really stood out in a negative way. It feels like we don't have time to absorb anything that's happening, and we just kind of, you know, zoom through plot points until we get to the big fight scene, which, you know, is epic and cool and very awesome and better than... I'd say the fight scene in this is more entertaining than anything in the second movie, but a lot of the story stuff felt lackluster to me, and it is because it just feels like we're speeding through it and not really caring, and also the fact that it's just like, dude, we're fucking goopifying children. Isn't that radical? I'm like, not really.
I agree with everything Tanner just said on the pacing. The pacing is the single biggest issue I have with this film. It is really atrocious, quite frankly. Like, the moment that they leave the fucking compound and... like, they're getting, like, set up for the fucking trap for Bondred with, like, the big old bugs. That's where I see the noticeable nosedive for it. It's like, not even necessarily nosedive. It, like, fucking falls off a cliff, repeatedly bashes its head on sharp rocks, and gets mauled by a mountain lion at the bottom. That's what happens to the pacing for this film.
Genuinely, I have no fucking idea what you guys are talking
I
about.
have no clue what you guys are talking about either. Also, Tanner, this is not a summary. This is a standalone.
That means it has no excuse now.
It's dropping a rank. Anyway, yeah, no, I genuinely have no idea what you guys are talking about. I think the movie is consistently very entertaining. It has things going on constantly. I think that it does slow down for the parts where it needs to with the emotional backstory and stuff, like the fucking post-credits cutscene. I think they do a good job not wasting time giving explanation to things that don't necessarily need to, because you can just see what they're doing. Like fucking the setup after they catch Bondra in the fucking trap. We know what's going on. They don't need to fucking slow down and describe in more detail what's happening. I think it's totally fine. I think I genuinely have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about. Especially Nico, such a visceral reaction to the pacing. I think it's totally fine. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was really bad. Like, even just the way in which they structure the events throughout the film. We'll see that, like, fucking, it does a flashback to a scene that happened while we were watching the film, like when fucking Rika and Prushka were on the stairs together. It just cuts back to that. It's like, oh, I feel like this is something we really could have just, like, had earlier in the film. I don't know why this is the moment you decide to start showing us this part.
It wasn't relevant until then, I think, is the whole reason they did that.
Why do we need to see it then?
Because it was relevant then. That's when they started talking about Prushka again.
Mm-hmm. But why couldn't we see it, like, as it was actually happening, though?
Because it wasn't necessary to the scene that was happening in then.
I don't know what the fuck you mean by that, but fair enough.
I don't know what your complaint is then necessarily. I think it's placed fine. I don't know if it benefited by putting it chronologically. I don't think that changes anything.
I think one of the big issues here is, given the demeanor of our characters, I think we're forgetting that this is supposed to be an extremely fucked up anime where we're introduced very early on that the Abyss is not something you fuck around with, and that only fucked up shit happens. Not only to the characters if they decide to ascend, but also the monstrosities and monsters and creatures that inhabit it within. And we're also, like, told that the White Whistles are a fucked up group of people. So for us to have any expectation that fucked up shit isn't going to happen is extremely out of the question. I think the fact that, they're liquefying children I don't think they're doing fucked up shit just to do fucked up shit. We knew that this shit was happening. He was doing this not to this degree beforehand when fucking Nanachi and Midi were there. He was just doing it in a less, I guess you could say, efficient way.
I don't know if I agree with Dylan's defense of the movie here, to be completely honest.
Well, this is how I interpreted it.
I mean, I think you're just maybe doing it a disservice, because it kind of sounds like you're just saying because they set up that fucked up shit happens, we should just be okay with watching it. I don't think that's necessarily a good defense of why these things are happening. I think a better defense is specifically trying to explain why this services the characters in the way it does. So, like, let's go to the immediate first one. I think maybe the most awkward to watch scene in the entire movie, where Reg's it's strapped up to the fucking machine with the thing on his little wiener. I don't have a fucking defense for why they display such imagery like that, but the reason they do that to Reg in the first place is because to Bondroid, he knows exactly what he is. He's seen the female Reg, which they talked about in the previous movie. The fucking female Reg is presumably even hooked up to the Zoaholic at some point, hence why he was able to take over Reg's body. He sees it as a fucking relic. He doesn't see it as a human. So immediately he sees this fucking crazy, super cool relic, and he's like, I want to fucking tear that thing up and see what the fuck it's all about. He doesn't see it as a person. So I think it's completely reasonable to assume why that happened, and I don't see it as a downside at all. I think they could have toned down the imagery of it, of course. That's just the author being a fucking weirdo.
Oh yeah,
I think the reason for that happening is totally understandable and fits with his character, especially given how they've described it previously. Next fucked up thing, obviously, are the cartridges, the kids being turned into that. I think, honestly, it's fucking terrible to say this, but legitimately, I think it is a very cool way of countering the Abyss, especially with such an aggressive curse that they get from going up from the 6th to the 5th, where they literally lose their humanity. I think it's a very novel way of going around that restriction. I think it's interesting. It is obviously incredibly fucked up, but it also fits with his character so much, where he's taking down these kids. He cares for all of them. You get to that scene where he fucking goes down, he starts naming all the kids that are inside that pit. Mm-hmm. He knows what they are. He cares for all these kids. He understands what he's doing is for, like, the greater good. That's all he's going about. Maybe he's still crazy because the Zoaholics fucked him up. But it's just like a very inventive way of countering that in a very Made in Abyss twist.
Can you real quick just explain it to me? Because I don't think I fully grasp how it works is the problem.
Basically, the idea is that if you go up from the 6th to the 5th, you're going to lose your fucking humanity. So he's redirecting the force of the abyss onto the cartridges themselves, because they're basically what they're doing is they're skinning the kids alive and basically taking everything except for their like needed organs and then putting them into that cartridge, and that's all they are. They're not like just turning them to fucking goop. They're literally like fucking in Midsommar, where they like skin the person and have all their flesh upside down. They're basically just like cutting off their skin, turning them into like a pod of a human, and basically they're just redirecting the curse of the abyss onto those cartridges. That's what happens when he fucking spits them out. That's because that kid's totally been corrupted and he can't, sustain the curse of the abyss anymore. And that's why when those pop out, he gets hit by the abyss a little bit, because the curse starts fucking going and afflicting him again. So he cycles through them.
But I guess, like, more so like what Tanner's question is potentially, I guess, here is like, well, how is he redirecting? Like, how does that make it so that it isn't affecting him then?
How exactly we don't know.
Because, like, if two people were, like, going through the fucking abyss at one time, would they not both be hit with it? Or is that just affecting one person?
They haven't given us like the fucking bare bones details of how specifically this works, but you can assume some setup with his suit. He's got the fucking thing that holds the cartridges. There's some sort of apparatus he has hooked up to him that's redirecting the abyss into the machine that he has on his back. And we know this because he does the same fucking thing with the elevator scene with Midi and Nanachi, where they redirect the abyss from one side to the other. They're doing the exact same thing with him and those cartridges. It's just in a more like portable way.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is everything that I thought I knew. It just didn't feel like satisfying enough of an answer for it to be the real one, but oh well.
Fair enough, dude.
I do feel like they kind of blaze through a lot of shit in this movie too quickly, as Tanner had mentioned previously. Like, just like them bringing up cartridges in general, like when they initially talk about what cartridges are, what they're used for, it is like what Jackson just said, they use it to redirect the Curse of the Abyss so that, Bonshu doesn't have to fucking worry about it. But then, like, once Reg shows up or some shit, and Nanachi's like, oh, be careful, he has cartridges. I thought they just...
some of the dialogue makes it sound like they're a weapon.
They're not. He's just saying that because they're just trying to imply that he can ascend the abyss, and there's risk involved in that because he can't use strategies like him going into the river and knocking him down and corrupting him that way again. That's no longer an option. When
he's, like, shooting the goo, though, isn't he using, like, the cartridges for that?
No, that's a completely separate relic.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing that also confused me. Yeah.
He's got a lot of relics. He collects relics. He's got a wider range of an arsenal.
Yes.
Yeah, like that big old tail of his, that's also a relic. That's pretty fun, right? Which also, by the way, what the fuck was Rico talking about when she was like, yeah, that fucking thing, it's a big old butt. That's what it looks like. No, it's a fucking plant.
Well, it's because we see it when it's like fully, I don't know, open maybe. Maybe there's like a different form before they transported it there where it's like cocooned up and maybe it looks like a butt before it gets like sprouted. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Why even mention that if we're not going to see it though?
I don't know. It's funny.
World building.
Okay.
It adds some context to the way this child sees these things. I don't know.
I feel like that just confuses the audience though when we see it, because then like when Rico is like, oh, is that the thing? It's well, that doesn't look like what you said it was.
I mean, I think it also just adds to like uncertainty. Maybe it isn't. Maybe they're wrong about that. I don't know. I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that. We don't know a ton. I think that adds a lot to the allure of what this show is, because there's so much we don't know. There's so much unknown, and we're going through a very similar experience as to what the characters are.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say one benefit: we're fucking shitting on this movie a lot, and it's a lot mostly just me.
I do have pros to get to. We just immediately kicked off with the negative. So,
anyways, let me give a positive here. The first two movies, specifically the first one, we get a little bit of intro to who Rico is as a character, but not like a crazy amount of characterization. The second movie, she's basically MIA for the entire thing because she's fucking passed out. This third movie is really what develops Rico as a definitive character. I think they do a good job of like putting on where each of them fit into the team. We've got like Rico is the fucking brain. She knows a lot of things. She can make up these plans. Nachi can like position everything. She's like the strat maker. And then we've got Reg, who's like their muscle. And I think that's a cool dynamic. I think it makes Rico feel like much more of a character, which I can appreciate, which he felt a little bit lackluster in the first couple, and comes into form a bit in this one.
Yeah, I can see that. I will say though, so, just to preface this here real quick, I ended up watching the fucking Japanese version this time around, boys. That's right, I finally converted, checked it out. I thought it was fine, but there was one aspect of it that just was constantly distracting me. I'm not knocking this as a negative for the film. I just found it very silly. Rico was just constantly saying the N-word throughout this film.
I mean,
and I found it hilarious.
I don't know what to say about that. I didn't notice it personally, but
it was every time she said Reg's name.
That's like a fucking, if you hear somebody say one thing, but like that's not what they're actually saying, and you can just kind of like assume what they're saying. This is a nothing statement. I think it's kind of funny if you think that, because maybe it's like, oh, I can't stop hearing that. I never noticed that before you said that, though. I never would have assumed that's what you were trying to point that towards.
Yeah, now that
this really says a lot about Nico, frankly.
Yeah.
What?
We're not in Black History Month anymore, so he's letting it all out.
I guess so.
I mean, yeah, now that I've heard it, you've said it out loud, I can hear it, but, like, knowing what I know about the Japanese language, I did not hear that at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, some word in Korean that's, like, a very innocuous one as well that just sounds like the N-word, so...
We all know that one song.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I guess, literally, you guys touched on this before. The pacing certainly, I think, is its biggest flaw. I don't think it's really that big of a deal to me in the end. It's certainly a very fast-paced movie, and I think that's really the only big thing that I have annoyance with outside of, like, the fucking creepy pedo shit, but, that's just made in abyss.
Why does he keep fucking popping boners? What's up with that?
Because he's some horny little boy. I don't fucking know. And the author's a horny old man. I don't know. But, I think the pacing is certainly pretty fast. I don't think it's like a crazy big negative to me, but that's, I don't know. Anyways, do we have any other negatives before we talk about the positives, I guess, if we're going to separate these into two halves?
Yeah, let's see. So, like, fucking Reg being able to use his incinerator just constantly throughout his fight with Bontrud, I did raise an eyebrow with me. Overall, it looked very cool, so that was nice at the very least, but also... Like, we just previously in the movie, Nachi was telling, you only have like 3 shots left, so you need to be very conservative with it. But then during the fight, he's just fucking letting it rip like no tomorrow.
Did you notice that also after, when Nachi looks at his hat again, she says there's 10 shots left? Do you understand what's happening then?
Presumably, like, the big electricity thing gave him a lot of extra charges.
Yeah, he charged himself back up.
Yeah, but at the same time, like... I don't think there was anything pointing to the fact that he could just, like, keep using it. Like, after he fired it once, it seems like he should have just, like, not been able to do it again, like, pass out shortly afterwards.
Nico, we talked about this, you son of a bitch. Okay, this is actually something Nico and I had talked about previously, so I'm going to go and address it. This is actually one minor plot thing that I found kind of interesting. Maybe there's just something I don't understand about this, or it's not explained, I don't know. But we previously described that if he uses an incinerator, he passes out 10 minutes later. And... I think the small shots, like the little tinier ones he's doing pretty consistently, those are fine. I think that coincides with him just knowing how to use his body better, explanation they give, because the female version of him took over his body briefly, and that kind of reminded him how to use himself, because, he has fucking amnesia. He forgot basically everything about his past when he lost his power initially. And I am assuming that the small shots are just one of his new powers. He can just, like, more finely hand tune that the laser on him, and the passing out thing only happens if it's like a big exhaust of energy all at once, which is like what those big explosions are. The smaller ones are like tinier ones, so it doesn't like immediately knock him out because it's less strain on him. But he does in fact use that massive explosion that blows up a large part of the base, and that's kind of what takes him out of that like sicko mode phase he was going into. But he doesn't pass out 10 minutes after that unless the fight with Bondruid and all the events after that take place within 10 minutes, which maybe they do, I don't fucking know. But he doesn't pass out after that, and I just question like if he can avoid that now maybe, or maybe he was just so overloaded with energy that using the incinerator didn't knock him down because it just put him back at like a normal level or something. He's on like overcharged state maybe. That was a little strange and kind of confusing to me, but everything else was fine. Anyways, go on, Nico.
I think that was really my only other like big thing with it. Oh, also the characters at the end, they feel way too happy for everything that just happened. Just Rico being like, oh boy, can't wait to go on a new part of the adventure.
Dude, also one more negative for the ending. Like, Bontrud being alive is fucking stupid, and I didn't like that.
Why they never destroyed the Zoaholic? It doesn't make, why would they didn't kill him? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, they should have.
Well, they fucking did it.
It makes the whole fight feel fucking pointless, which it is.
I would disagree.
It got them their white whistle so they can continue the adventure.
Yeah.
Sure. I just would have liked more closure where Bontrut was dead.
Alas. The big thing with it is even if they killed the Zoaholic, they previously described that there are so many Umbral hands just all over the fucking place, like that one that was in the 4th layer burning down those fields. Even if they destroyed the Zoaholic, they killed all of the Umbral hands that are there, which would be a fucking monumental task in and of itself because it's a massive fucking base with a ton of his henchmen there. He can just go to any other random fucking one that's anywhere else, basically, and then, he's back up, baby.
Yeah.
There's no fucking killing him. I think they very easily established that. The fight was just to stop him so they could get past their goal. It wasn't to fucking put him down.
Dude, I was under the impression destroying the Zoaholic meant he couldn't, incarnate himself anymore.
But they didn't do that.
Yeah, well, I really thought that they were sending Rico to go look at it while they were doing other shit because her mission was to destroy it or something.
I don't think she'd be able to do that.
Not just
she was going to get his...
look at it and be like, hey, look at that thing.
I mean, what the fuck is she gonna do? She was going to get his hand, Rake's hand.
She literally shoots an explosive bolt later in the movie.
That's because she was syncing up with Rake to do that. How the fuck is she gonna be like, yo, Rake, fucking blast this thing real quick?
Well, no, I'm saying she could have shot an explosive bolt at the Zoaholic and destroyed it.
He was talking about, the crossbow or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that. I don't fucking know. I just they didn't fucking do it. I don't imagine that would have destroyed
they didn't
it.
Do it. I'm saying I think this could have been done better and more satisfying.
They also, again, did say in the movie that even destroying it wouldn't have fucking changed anything because they still have all the boys everywhere.
Dude, just write it so that destroying it would kill him.
Alas, people really like Bondrewd. He's a very good character. I think he's a super cool villain and antagonist, and I don't want him to die because of that. I think his motivations are interesting and nuanced. I like the fact that he really does just seem like he truly wants to help move society forward in this way, even if his methods are incredibly fucked up and inhumane. And also, of course, he plays a larger part of the plot later on still because he's a big fucking character in it, so I disagree hard, personally.
Okay.
Alrighty, boys. Speaking of Bondrewd, though, as Jackson said, he really likes Bondrewd as a villain. I also like Bondrewd a lot as a villain. He's very cool. I'm a big fan of him. He's just such a fascinating character, he leaves a lot of things up in the air. It's like, how much does he actually care about these kids? Does he even genuinely love Prushka, or is it just a means to an end for him? We do see moments where he does care about them, as Jackson said, when he's fucking shooting out their cartridges and you're I remember her. She was a very kind girl, stuff like that. But at the same time, he's still fucking killing them and making them endure this horrific thing. So it's tough, And when he's talking to Nanachi, he's making that deal with her, and he does seem surprised when she's like, "Hey, don't hurt my friends." Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I fucked up, didn't know you'd want that. Kind of already grabbed Reg. Oopsie.
Yeah, in fairness to Bondrewd in that moment, I'm sure he probably just sees it as some fucking robot. I don't think he really sees it as one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just cool. He doesn't play all of his cards, all of his emotional cards on the table. So it does kind of leave you wondering where exactly his true feelings lie.
True. There's of course also the question of how there he truly is with the Zoaholic and all those mixed consciousness. If he actually if he's just basically insane, he's so motivated by his obsession to conquer the abyss. If he actually is truly in this way, or if it's just a weird representation of who he once was mixed with his obsession, and it's kind of a twisted way of viewing that relationship with all these kids. So I feel he does have a basis of emotion towards these children. Obviously, he's putting a lot of effort to understand them and know about them and raise them in the case of Prishka. But I think he is just so fucked up from the abyss that he looks past all of that, and if anything, I assume he probably sees these children as martyrs. I don't think he sees them as I'm going to do something fucked up. I think he sees them as, you're going to help advance science, and this should be a good thing. I assume that's his perspective on all of this.
Dude, if you really think about it, it's he lost his humanity without going from the 6th to the 5th layer.
Hell yeah.
Yes, he also does literally lose his humanity going from the 5th to the 6th layer. And then gets it back because he takes somebody else over. Woohoo.
Bondrewd has some sick warlock drip, though, I will say.
Holy smokes.
Who wins the bet? I believe Jackson has to pay up.
Yeah.
Little did you know, you guys forget that I watched the fucking episode, so I decided to throw this bit in here because I thought it'd be funny, so fuck all of you.
Damn. Bro's fucking throwing me under the bus.
I'm metagaming the shit out of this podcast. Little do you know.
That's fucked up.
The fights were also really amazing in this film. Gotta hand it to him. That shit kicked ass. I really want Reg and Bonchard in a fighting game. Stat! They were fucking sweet. You can easily visualize what their fucking moves and everything would be too.
Oh yeah, easily.
The explanation behind the white whistles too is very interesting, that there's somebody that has to sacrifice himself basically to be created. And fucking Bondred, literally, I think it's perfect for his character that he literally sacrificed himself so that he could get a fucking white whistle. That is metal as shit.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. Prushka as a character too is very interesting because she literally, all she wants is just to go explore this thing that she lives in without any other context behind it, because she's been in this fucking base her entire life basically. And latching on to Rico so quickly is cool, because I think it would have been interesting to see her come down with her in the Abyss, and unfortunately she is in a very twisted way. Very good emotional impact in that final fight scene when they discover what's fully happening. They piece it together.
Yeah. I was so fucked up after that, dude. Oh my god. Not the most emotional thing I've been through all week, but regardless. This was a fucked up week for me. I forgot I watched this movie with everything that's happened, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a rough one.
Back to back.
Yeah. That's probably why I've been so fucking emotionally out of it, dude. I just can't anymore.
You've become numb to it.
But yeah, overall, I really like this movie. I think, per usual, the art direction is incredible. I think it's insanely well animated. It's beautiful to look at. The fight scenes are super well done and very creative. I really love when they do that interesting black and white scene with Sam Anime. Like Mob Psycho 100 has a scene that's similar to that.
I was going to bring that up, actually. Yeah, Reg definitely is evoking the same sort of energy that Mob is. And at the same time, despite both Reg and Bonchard's main colors during that scene being black, despite all that, they do still not blend together, get super muddy during that scene either, so you can still very easily tell which character is which and who's doing what and everything.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think the pace is continuously very entertaining. I never felt like I was bored throughout it. There was still a lot happening, a lot to pick up on. I think the character interactions are great. I really don't have any major flaws with this movie. I think it was just a very entertaining experience overall. Big fan of this one.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I think, once again, obviously, world building is awesome. Spectacular set pieces throughout this film. The next layer in particular, that big old city, looks cool as fuck. I'm definitely very excited to explore that more. It's fucking, there's a whole ass city down here. What does that look like at this point? Are there residents of it? I don't know. And something that I feel like I, unfortunately, have not mentioned any of the previous Main Abyss reviews we've done so far is that just the atmosphere overall of Main Abyss is so unique. And it's perhaps my favorite quality of it. I was trying to find another word that wasn't aspect. It's probably my favorite quality of it. It just has this almost whimsical feel with all the bright and beautiful environments, but there's also always a slightly sinister undertow to it. Just
right.
There are terrifying things lurking around every corner. Like the fucking big old flower field that they find themselves in. It's whoa, this looks crazy beautiful. This is Rico's mom's favorite place. But also there are fucking bugs in here that will kill you.
Dude, that's the fucked up part. They're from the 6th layer too, so that shit's fucked.
Fuck them bugs.
And we also saw that big old fucking worm thing was from the 3rd layer, whatever the fuck, but it was up on the first one, so it's shit's starting to move up. What's up with that exactly?
Yeah, the environmental world building is great. I agree with the vibes. So every scene of them just inside of the base of the 5th layer is very cool. The fucking, especially the industrial side, it's just you always feel tense, because it's just one of those scenes that feels like you're in a fucking horror movie.
Yeah.
It's also crazy that they just fucking left themselves so unguarded in that room in Bondridge Base night 1.
Yeah.
The movie tries its best, but these are children at the end of the day, and they make very childlike assumptions and behaviors, and I appreciate that too. I think their characterization is great.
Yeah, absolutely. When Prushka is talking to Rico and she's talking about oh, my name's Prushka, it means flower of dawn, whatever. That's such a child thing to do. Where it's this is what my name means. And then when Rico falls down the stairs from getting hit by the fucking abyss or whatever the fuck, and Prushka's looking at her and it's oh, it's okay, you only lost baby teeth, and it's these characters still have baby teeth.
Yeah.
Just a little reminder for just how in over their heads they are here.
Yeah, and they're well past the point of no return at this point too.
Yeah.
Especially now that they're going down to the 6th layer. They're literally past the point of no return at this point.
Yeah, well, things could change.
Yeah, well, maybe they find some way of ascending. I don't know.
I don't know.
Dude, they're just gonna go through the planet core and come out the other end.
Yeah, they're going to pop out in China.
I feel like that's not how that's gonna work, but, you know, to each their own.
They're going to get fucking gored alive by some Elder Tor in the 7th layer, and that's just going to be the end of it very suddenly.
Yeah, that'd be a funny way to end an anime. Just at the very end, you got your protagonist, and they just straight up go into a fight they can't win, and they all die, and that ends it.
It's just episode 1 of season 4. They immediately die. That's the end.
Yeah, it would be very unsatisfying, obviously, but it would fit the theme, unfortunately.
Right.
Because shit does just fucking happen here. Anything can happen. Fucking...
It would almost be a more satisfying ending because, like, you know, them, like, succeeding, whatever that looks like, then you're like, well, you know, they're fucking 9. You're telling me no one else could pull this off before now?
To be fair, they also have, like, Reg and Nanachi with them, who have, like, you know, special properties that absolutely help them within the Abyss.
Yeah, we also don't know how far down people have gone. Like, there's plenty of white whistles they know of that are farther below than, like, the 6th or 7th layer. People may have gone all the way down. We just don't know about
fucking
them.
spoilers. There's a 7th layer?
They've literally
they've
said
that
shit before.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I've only...
They've said that there are 11 layers in total.
Says the motherfucker that didn't pay attention to the last half an hour of fucking movie 2.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Context I'm missing, huh?
Anyway, I think it'd be a really interesting anime concept to explore where it's just like you follow a main character, they die, it goes to another main character, they pass up that main character, they die, and it's just a progressive...
Dude, that's literally just Gantz.
Yeah, that's not Gantz.
Are they not able to, like, pass notes from the 6th layer up?
They are. They can.
They could, presumably, yeah. There is, like, openings.
They have, like, balloons, but, you know, the further down they are, the more they're gonna be, like, terrifying creatures and shit. They'll probably just destroy them, so...
Well, I mean, even beyond that, I think it was, like, in the 2nd layer where it's, like, the fucking turbulent winds and shit, because they did that at the end of the 2nd movie. It barely made it up, and they were in the fucking 4th layer.
Yeah.
It just seems like... Personally, I just feel like they should have more information about, like, the 6th layer and below, since there are people who've gone down there, and hypothetically, they could get a message back.
Potentially. The big thing is that also you have to look at it from, like, almost like a capitalist standpoint, where, for example, Bondruid's troop, maybe they have some form, like, I mean, they do. They can talk to each other through, like, some fucking Neuralink bullshit because of the Zoaholic. But maybe other groups of raiders have that too, and they don't want to pass information to these people because then it'd give them an advantage, because there's crazy, super cool, expensive shit that they don't want other people getting down there. So there's also, like, some, you know, information hiding because of that, and there's that layer. There's, like, the fucking group that, like, hands out the white whistle, so certainly there's some sort of, like, government association that's part of this, but we don't really know a ton about it.
Wait,
so I wouldn't
hand
be
out the
shocked
white
if-
whistles?
That's what I was about to say.
I meant to just say the whistles. I don't know if I said if I said white whistles, I didn't mean that. I just meant whistles.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some sort of bureaucracy about this, but yeah, I don't imagine they get too far. I feel like most adventurers get down to, like, the 4th layer, and that's really about it.
Yeah, there's some pretty intensely fucked up shit going on beyond the 4th layer, as you have witnessed. So I think for your casual cave dweller or cave raider that's not a white whistle or a black whistle, I think if they choose to go past the 4th layer, they probably don't make it too much farther. And the white and black whistles aren't keen on sharing secrets with other people, if that wasn't already obvious.
Yeah.
Well, boys, do you have any final thoughts on this film?
No.
I think it's peak. I was a little scared that I wasn't going to like it as much as the first time I watched it, because I watched it when it first released, fucking 5 years ago,
Jesus.
I do still enjoy it a lot. I probably enjoyed it more because I know a lot more context about the world, so I think it's a lot more interesting.
Makes sense to me.
Perhaps that's all Tanner's missing, just a little bit of context.
Maybe.
That's what it was with Evangelion for me, so makes sense.
You ever get around to watching that last part of movie 2?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god.
Oh, well.
Jesus.
And he maybe never will. He definitely won't. Yeah, my rank is unchanged.
I agree.
Dude, same.
Dude, I over this discussion, I realized I like this movie less than I thought I did, so I'm going down rank to B-.
I don't even know how that's possible, but okay.
You said that one thing about it not being a recap, and that threw it asunder.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I thought that was
yeah.
a joke. I didn't take that seriously.
Yeah, personally, I think you guys are retards, but that's neither here nor there. This movie landed at an A overall.
I'm really carrying this one up.
Alas, Made in Abyss will never be S tier.
Yeah, very funny that one of the recap movies landed lower than the actual fucking like high production movie that's like critically acclaimed. Funny how that works.
Oh yeah.
Weird how that works.